morning, everybody. This is a podcast session this morning again in front of a live audience. Let's get the crowd to give a nice hello. Yeah. We're calling the podcast Voice of Reason. We've been running this for a while. And we've got a wonderful guest here this morning, Karen. And she's going to talk to us about very relevant and important topics, I think, for family and for our youth, our young people. So give her a round of applause to make her feel welcome. She's going to give a bit of detail from what organization she is, and then we're going to run through a few questions. And just open up your heart this morning and get ready to receive something new, something very important this morning. Voice of reason, meaning in a time where there's so many voices and so many things, we've got an overload of information. Sometimes we miss some things, and there is voice of reason needed amongst all the information that's going around. All right, so we're going to start off. I'm going to ask Karen just to introduce herself and the organization and what she's here for this morning. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you very much. My name is Karen Menkveld. I'm a volunteer at A21, which is an anti-human trafficking organization. They are based in 11 different countries, and the mission is to eradicate modern-day slavery. That is what we stand for, and that is what we hope and pray for. It's a Christian-based organization who really do a lot to fight human trafficking.
Can you maybe start off and just explain to us how did you get involved and where your passion came from for this?
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I've been a missionary in Zambia for a few years, and after working with some young girls, we've seen the need for young girls that went through sexual abuse or even slaves, child brides, and we realized that there's a bigger need for restoration, for help. So I think that's where God really touched my heart for the vulnerable, for the traumatized. And as I came back from Zambia, back in South Africa, God really called me into specifically anti-human trafficking, because child brides are just one aspect or one part of trafficking, modern-day slavery. So God really touched my heart for these young children that's really going through a lot of trauma. So that's why I like to fight against this horrible phenomenon that we see each day, to save our little children. It's not only children, there's a lot of men and women also trapped in trafficking, but God has stirred my heart for this.
Is it practical for us in Gauteng? Do we have something like that going on in our communities? Make it a bit relevant for us in the current state and situation here around where we live in Pretoria East.
Yes, I think that is the biggest thing that people think is like human trafficking is happening there in other countries, in other parts of South Africa. But unfortunately, that is not the case anymore. Human trafficking has grown, and traffickers has become so clever in how to find their victims, how to identify vulnerable children and youth and adults, to trick them into being trafficked and use them. So yes, our children in an area like this, Gauteng, Pretoria East area, are very, very vulnerable to trafficking because of social media and internet and unlimited data access.
All right, so let's become a bit more practical and speak to us about those dangers, and maybe mention one or two incidents that you know of that's happened in our community, and so that we might just find the practicality on how to look out for it. What is the dangers that we have to be aware of?
Okay, the danger of social media is because traffickers use these platforms like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and so on to lure young adults or whoever is then online. They will, for instance, send out 50,000 invites on Facebook or online gaming, and then whoever accepts those invites, they will start chatting to. So we always say children are being trafficked in the safety of their own rooms. Because as they are online playing games, chatting with their friends in chat rooms or any kind of platform, they are actually so vulnerable because of these people inviting them. And our young children, they don't have the ability to realize to distinguish between how they can see and make proper choices, because these people lure them in. And because of young children, their prefrontal cortex is not developed yet. In other words, they can't make proper decisions. They can't think ahead of what might the consequences be. So these traffickers then start relationship building with these girls or boys or young adults, and they start building relationship and then bring in division between them and their families. They will start manipulating them. They will start saying things like, we call it the grooming process. I'm sure a lot of people know about the grooming, the physical grooming that a pedophile will do maybe to young girls, but there's online grooming as well. And because people are not aware of the grooming process or the online grooming process, they actually fall trap for these traffickers. And before they know it, they are actually already being trafficked. But it's a long process, and I think because of a lack of knowledge, we see that our children are being trapped in that before they actually realize how dangerous it is.
How does it work when they now connect with these children? Is there a moment where they then physically get hold of them? How do they do that?
The unfortunate thing is that it doesn't have to be a physical contact. It doesn't have to be an in-person meeting. We think that, and it do happen. It does happen that the child will maybe go and meet the person somewhere. But the actual fact is, while the child is online, chatting to this person, building relationship, that trafficker will start telling the child, no, you're so pretty and you're so beautiful. To the young ladies, you are so attractive. To the young boys, oh wow, you play soccer, you must be very masculine and very strong. And they will actually then encourage the children and manipulate them to send pictures of themselves, like firstly a face picture, and then later on maybe just with the top off. And these pictures get more and more explicit, in such a case that that child will later on send naked pictures of themselves, because the trafficker manipulates them so much, and they threaten them. We call it sextortion, where the trafficker on the other side of the line will then tell the child, but if you don't send me more pictures, then I'm going to post these pictures that you already sent on your Instagram, or I'm going to send them to your parents. And they threaten these children, and like I said, because the frontal cortex is not developed yet, they can't think of the consequences, they can't distinguish between the decision making, like is it good, is it not, and then they will just send it because of the fear of what the trafficker has instilled in them. So that is online trafficking. The child doesn't have to leave the room. The child has been trafficked because those pictures are then posted onto the dark web, on all kinds of sites, pornography sites, and the people will never, ever, ever be able to delete those images. It is always going to be on the internet. Nothing that you post on the internet can ever be deleted. And that's what our children and our people don't realize is that whatever is on the internet stays there forever. And as you post pictures of yourself or friends or whoever, you're actually busy building a CV or resume for yourself on internet. And one day when you work, find a job or want to apply for a job, those people can go back and see what did you post online and what was posted of you online. And then they can decide whether you're going to get a job or whatever. So it's something that will last forever. What you do today is going to have an impact. So your question, coming back to your question, it doesn't have to be a physical, stole the child is gone, we don't know where she is. It can be in the safety of her own room.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people have the idea that it is more physical trafficking that's taking place. And I think As parents and as children, we need to understand today the power. There's a mighty benefit, but the power and the dangers that is associated with giving children free access and unlimited data to do whatever they need to do. That's a problem I feel is very relevant, is that we've got absent parents but present cell phones and present tablets, and we're keeping children busy, thinking that it will help them in an educational sort of way, but actually opening the door for the enemy to get hold of their lives. Speak to us a bit about how do we see this? What's the danger signs? How do we pick it up as parents? Maybe sort of in that line first.
If we think about how parents can actually help their children in this, there's a multiple of ways that we can guide parents or give them tips. And my most important thing is, what I always say to parents is, have a relationship with your child. Know your child, know who his friends are, know which apps are downloaded on his phone. We always say, if your child has that app, then you should have it too. You should know the different security settings on that app. You should know how the app works, what the app is there for, and know all the safety and privacy settings on those apps. So, main thing is to spend time with your children and talk to them about what they are doing online and what kind of games they play online, what apps they have online. This, I would say, is the main thing. But children do tend to have different profiles. So we've seen, unfortunately, where a teenager will have his mommy safe Facebook and then his friend's profile Facebook. And unfortunately, that is reality, that children want to hide those things because they are trying to hide something, and then that makes them even more vulnerable because traffickers encourage them to hide things from parents because they want to kind of isolate the children away from what their family knows about them.
Is there behavioral things that one can look out for in the child?
Yes, I would say yes. I think it's sometimes a child will isolate themselves more often. They will spend more time in their rooms, behind closed doors. You don't know what the child is doing on their phones. So yes, I would say isolation. Disrespect, because the traffickers will say to the teenage girl, yeah, your parents don't understand you, they don't know what you're going through, they are old, what do they know about social media? And they try to bring in that division, or that break in relationship. So yes, I think children will become more isolated, more separate from their parents, not as much open about what's going on in their lives. Yeah, I think that will be the main thing.
From your perspective, if one looks at time spent on a device, what would be a healthy sort of a guideline when we speak about, say, from a 10-year-old onwards to teenagers? Have you got some sort of advice that you can give concerning that?
Yeah, we do speak to parents about the different ages and online safety. From about 10 years old, I would say don't let your child go to bed with his phone. Let the phone be left in the living room or kitchen somewhere, and don't let them go to bed with the phone. And also, limit it to homework or to, let's say, I don't want to say time frame because each child is different, but the main thing is just, if you know what your child is doing online, and you have access to what they do, and you can control that, then it's easier to give the child more time online. But never let them go to bed with their phones. Make sure that if you have a security password for your Wi-Fi, to change that maybe from time to time, and just check with what your child has been up to and spend time with them.
Yeah. Gaming, that's another thing. I never thought that it could happen through gaming as well. Just explain that a bit. And I think many of our parents and even of our kids are not aware of how this can be done. So, and all the platforms, because I know a lot of kids are gamers and they spend many times or lots of time on it. Just give us a bit of perspective on that one as well.
Okay, apart from the child getting addictive to the online gaming, which is a whole nother story on its own, the traffickers also plays those games. They also know that they can invite people. If you play an online game, a live online game, anyone can send an invite or start chatting. And like I said earlier, the traffickers will send out 50,000 invites or messages, and whoever then respond, they will work with them. So what happens is, as soon as the child then accepts the friend request, they will start talking to them, getting more information. Where are you from? What are you doing? In which country do you live? What are your interests? And they find out as much information about the child as possible, because they want to get to know the child. So one thing that people realize is when the child then asks questions like, where do you come from? What do you like? The person won't respond to those questions. They will just keep on asking more personal questions to the child. And by doing that, from the online gaming, they will maybe then move to a site like WhatsApp or an app like WhatsApp and then start chatting there. And as we all know that there's end-to-end encryption on WhatsApp, and that also then protects the perpetrator or the trafficker in what he shares or communicates to the child. So that then goes on, and like I said earlier, a child then are being threatened and manipulated, that they literally send out all the information, they give out all the information, and they are so brainwashed because human trafficking is all about control. And that is what traffickers want to do. They want to control the person that they are trafficking. And because young children or adults or teenagers a lot of times wants that affirmation from someone, the trafficker will use that. Like, oh, you're so handsome, you're so cute, you're so special, so beautiful. And then the child or the person will send pictures, but it all starts with that initial invitation. And we should teach our children not to accept any invitation. What traffickers do is they will have this profile of a young, beautiful woman who's now inviting this young guy, but actually in reality, the person behind that Facebook page or Instagram page is an old 40-year-old pedophile, someone whose job it is to find and lure victims and traffic them. So the person behind the profiles, I want to say, never really the real person. So yeah, it is because of the way that they manipulate and try to control children. And online gaming is just one place where they can make contact or invite the children then.
One of the things that Hilana does very well is she speaks to the girls about who have given them invites. And I've heard again yesterday, Ineke came to Ilana saying, listen, this invites came my way. And so it's very important that we have that conversation and that children will be aware of the danger of these anonymous invites that is sent over social media platforms. Speak to me a bit about the physical thing as well, because when we spoke, you said there's some issues that we, even as close as Plastic View, that we're dealing with physical trafficking that is happening in South Africa as well.
Yeah, just to link on what you said is, I always tell people that do not accept a friend request from someone if you haven't met them in person.
Yeah.
Like, you've met that person in person, yes, then you can accept it. But if it's a random one from somewhere you don't know, do not accept. Like, decline, block immediately. So that's what I always say. Physical trafficking, the numbers for kidnapping is actually not as much as it used to be in the past because of the online platforms. They don't have to literally steal the child anymore. But it happens, and it is a long-term process. Just as the grooming online the grooming happens with the children, for instance, in Plastic View or Mamelodi or wherever. And I don't want to say it's only those areas. It can happen in a more privileged area as well, that children are being watched and followed, and then what we call the lover boy method is a child will, or a teenager will introduce her friend to this young guy she met at the university, and they will fall in love. This young man will like pretend to be this awesome, nice, loving, caring man who's God's gift to women, and he will just think she will just fall in love with this guy, and eventually one day he will say, but come with me, let's go to Mozambique for a nice holiday, and this girl will run away from home, going with this guy on this holiday, and then she's trafficked. So that's the lover boy method, where he actually fake being in love with her eventually to traffic her to Thailand, China, or wherever she will end up then. And that's more the physical side of trafficking that we see.
I heard somebody speak about the problem in culture in South Africa, where you have it's called a blessing, a blesser. Anybody heard about that before? I'm not going to, while the organ is playing softly, ask who's got a blesser in the church this morning, but it is usually an older person that sort of gets a relationship with a younger person, pays a lot of things, and that these guys would go shopping for girls like that from different countries around us, from Botswana, Namibia, Mozambique, then get them into the country and then get them pregnant and then leave them in informal settlements without any documentation, without any assistance and help. So it's a real issue in our context as South Africans that we have to know about. We have to educate our children, I think. That is what I'm hearing this morning, about the dangers that is out there. I want to just prepare the guys. Maybe we've got some questions in the audience today as well. So if you've got something, think about it. I'm going to have an opportunity, and then we're going to ask some questions and answer some questions as well. From a biblical perspective, we are in a battle. And we've been dealing in our context over the last month or so about the spiritual fight that we're all in. And I think many of us as believers, we are not aware, we are blinded to the fact that we are actually appointed as custodians, as stewards over our children. The Bible actually says we have to train them up in the way of the Lord when they're young. That's our responsibility. I see too many parents today wanting to be a buddy and a friend to a child and not a parent. But we have to take up that responsibility. God has also given us the grace and the empowerment to do that, to be a parent, to train them up in the way that they should go. So we have to take up that mantle and that authority as parents and start to educate ourselves with modern day problems. With all of the things that I've heard today, I'm just again hit by the fact that we get so busy with busyness that we miss the purpose, the call that we've got as parents. It starts from very young, that we would instill in our children the principles, the ethical, moral standard of the Word of God, and be serious and very intentional about it, and not just hope by chance that my kid will not fall prey to something like this. So I want to be a voice today, a voice of reason to parents, to call them sort of into their responsibility, to take up that mantle, and with the confidence, God has given me this responsibility. He's given me these kids. He's given me this enablement to deal with it and to do it well, to have confidence in your parenting. And then obviously the children, you've got to learn to be open enough to deal with mom and with dad of the things that come your way, that become stumbling blocks on your journey, that get you out of where you need to go. If I just want to come back to you now. Just give us a bit of a final thought on, what to do now. Is there, if we know of something that has happened, is there a police sort of way, get the authorities involved? What do we do when we sort of realize, okay, something is happening here? Do these guys get convicted or not? Or is this a battle we only fight there in the safety of our homes?
So A21 is built on a 3-pillar, which is called the REACH, awareness training, where we talk at schools and churches to make awareness and do prevention on what trafficking is and how they can protect themselves. And then we have the rescue, where they actually go out if the child has been missing, go out and find the child with the Hawks and police and the government institutions that can do that. And under that REACH, we have a hotline. So A21 has a hotline number that can be phoned 24/7, and they then have the right people on board who can investigate the case. Unfortunately, if a child already posted pictures online, naked pictures online, they cannot get those pictures off. Yes, you can go into lawsuits, there are people that can help you, but unfortunately, the statistics show that that wasn't very effective. So that is why prevention is so important, so that we don't have to kind of fix the problem, but make sure the problem doesn't happen. So the hotline is the one that can help you, give guidance. If there's a need for legal advice, they will give you legal advice. If the child has been missing physically, they send out their people to find the child, to look into the case. They also have lawyers working for them, like I said, the Hawks as well. So the hotline number, can I say it? It's 0800 222 777. And that is totally anonymous, so you can phone in. If you, for instance, find a job opportunity, we haven't even spoken about false job opportunities, but in South Africa, the 3 main types of trafficking is sex exploitation, domestic violence, and then online trafficking or online sexual extortion. So what the online, the hotline can do is, if someone sends you a job opportunity, then, and you're not sure, let's say it's a job opportunity for an au pair in the Netherlands, and you're not sure if your child will be safe, then you can phone that hotline number and they can look into that. Because traffickers use false job opportunities as well. They will send a job application, the person will go for an interview, and maybe they will go to Joburg CBD for the interview and might even get missing there, or fly overseas, and then someone will be trafficked there, all under false promises. So even that, the hotline can do for you. If you're unsure about a job opportunity, they can vet that for you as well.
Sure. If I look at what happened in Cape Town with that little girl, was in the news. What's her name again? I forgot that again.
Jocelyn, yes.
Jocelyn, that's
yes.
the little one. That's still missing, eh? They haven't found anything yet.
Yeah, no, I don't think they will find her. If she hasn't been, well, I don't have all the information, but if she hasn't been taken outside of South Africa, then maybe she didn't make it physically.
Yeah, that's a very, very sad thing that's been in the news very recently as well. Unsupervised children left alone with unlimited data. Unfortunately, parents work. Unfortunately, sometimes both parents work, and children are left alone. But we have to be very aware very early in their lives to give information, give training. It is the info that'll save their lives. And I want to encourage you guys, be involved. Have a relationship with your children. Speak about these things. And allow God to show you. If you don't have the skill set, ask. That's a big thing. You know, we are so proud and don't want to ask for help. But ask. If you see things, don't keep quiet and try to deal with it alone. Ask for help. And I'm sure we'll find through the help of this program, we'll find help for all of you guys.
Yes, I would just like to advise parents to go and look into parental control apps. Something IZ, it's EYEZE, is an app that you can download and you can see exactly what your child is doing, where they are physically, how much time they spend on Facebook or Instagram, what images they post and receive, what they share to their friends, to whom they share. And I think that, I don't know how much it will cost for an app like that, but that money cannot compare even to you trying to find and try to get pictures from your child off the internet. So look into something like that. We all know Net Nanny, which is also an app that you can download that helps you to see and control what your child is doing. And teenagers, I want you to understand that it's not because your mother or father wants to control you. It's because they love you. And they will pay that subscription because they want to see what you're doing for your own protection. These things happen as long as you are younger than 25, you don't have the ability to make proper decisions yet because the prefrontal cortex is not developed. It only develops at 25. So our children are so vulnerable. So please, parents, go look into those different apps and find and see if there's something that works for you to make sure that we can protect our children.
What about a child, and I need to finish now, but what about a child that says you're invading my privacy?
I think as a parent you have the right to protect them. It is not about invading their privacy. I think we have the right and the responsibility to make sure that we know what our children are doing. I would say another child is not your responsibility, but your own children are your first responsibility.
All right, do you hear that, parents? I've got so many, in the past, parents that I've seen that they feel that they want to, parent in a way and then don't want to invade into the child's privacy. I'm saying this, and it's on live stream today. Ilana's got access to my phone, and I've got access to her phone. So we have to be open. As soon as you isolate, you get into trouble. So break the curse of isolation when it comes to online things. Even take it further. Ilana, I can't buy her flowers without her getting an SMS. So we are that open financially as well. If you're married, you are married. If you wanted to be single, then be single. But if you've got children and you've got a wife, you've got to open up your life. If you've got a husband as well. So get that locks off your phones, get it open, get access to one another. That is accountability that will protect you from the snares of the devil. Amen. All right, I'm so happy that we've had Karen. Karen, you want to say anything else?
No, just like affirm what you're saying. Accountability is key and relationship is key. It all comes down to being open with your child, being able to speak about the dangers. And if your child encounters something like that, that they will feel free to come to you and say what happened or what they've seen. Because we know a lot of times children just see random stuff on Facebook or YouTube that is not age appropriate for them. And they should then be open enough to come to you and say, Mommy and Daddy, I saw this. What is this about? And you as a parent should be open enough to talk about these things. Unfortunately, online internet has just brought the world open for our children, and we are supposed to be the safe nets for them.
Wonderful. Yeah, so wonderful to have had you with us. Again, that number that you just mentioned?
It's 0800 222 777. It's an A21 hotline number.
And then the apps that you mentioned?
It's IZEYEZE, and the other one was Net Nanny.
All right. It was a wonderful privilege for us to have you with us today. I hope you guys learned a lot. I'm looking at the teenagers sitting here in front of me. I hope you guys learned a bit today as well. And we will pray for you guys and trust that the Lord would use you in a greater way. We're praying for our community, the event coming up in next month where we're going to get together and we're going to learn more about this. Spread the word, spread the awareness. That's my prayer. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless you. Join us next time on The Voice of Reason.